Hey, Spud Squad, listen. I just finished those first 3 episodes of Squid Game 2, season 2. And listen, I'm comfy under this blanket. I got my favorite butterfly glass with my orange soda. Woo, Lord, favorite butterfly glass with my orange soda and my tater chips, and I'm ready to talk about it. Okay, so my other tater chips, my favorite tater chips. Okay, so let's discuss it. I am assuming that y'all saw season 1. So I'm not going to start off with season 1, recap or anything. Hopefully you already saw it. We were left with a cliffhanger of whether or not he was going to get on the plane. Okay? So I'm going to say a couple things up front. And I'm going to ask y'all too. So I actually, okay, so obviously the show is in Korean. So you have a choice to make. And I want to know from you guys, and tell me down in the comments, do you listen to it in Korean and just read the subtitles in English? Or do you listen to the dub in English instead? So I like to watch it, listen to it in Korean, and read it in English. So it feels like I'm like reading the show. For some reason, because there were a couple times that I had the English subtitles and the dub on, and it didn't fit. The words that they were saying were not the same words that I was reading, and it got confusing for me. So I ended up just like listening to it in Korean, and I love languages anyway. Side note, when I was a little kid, said I wanted to learn all of the languages that there ever would be on earth, and of course my mom let me know that would be a massive undertaking. So, but I still like hearing them speak in a different language. The other thing I noticed is that in season 1, when I was listening to it, the English dub, I didn't like the voices didn't match the people's faces, if that makes sense. Like the English voices didn't seem like they should be coming out of those characters' faces. So I wanted to hear the actual character or the actor's voice. So that's why I wanted to listen to it in Korean as well. And then I feel like I might be learning a few words in Korean. Don't ask me to say anything because I can't say anything. But I feel like I might actually be learning a few words in Korean, which is another reason why I like to listen to it in Korean and then just read the subtitles. Okay, so that's some of the background. Now, back to the show. We left off into season 1 where he was getting ready to get on the plane. He had altered his appearance and all this, and he got a phone call. And he had to decide whether or not to get on the plane or not. And he chose not to get on the plane. Okay, so he defied the orders of the person on the other end of the line and walks back out into the airport. So we start off in season 2 with him in the airport with his red hair, trying to figure out how they can still see him, how they still know him. And then we see he's figuring out they must have a tracker on him somewhere. And so he goes into the bathroom, strips down to nothing, and is trying to figure out where in the world this tracker is, and he finds it behind his ear. Side note, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. There will be spoilers because I'm assuming, again, that since I told you and I put it out there days in advance that we were going to talk about this on Saturday, the first 3 episodes are something you guys have already seen, so I'm not really spoiling anything for you. But just know I'm not planning to hold anything back. I'm going to tell you exactly what I was thinking, okay? So, once he finds the tracker, then he devises this plan. He's got to figure out how to find this guy because he wants to shut the game down. Now, I will say this season, the first episode was not as fast-paced as I expected it to be. So for me, season 1, that very first episode was a nail biter. It was suspenseful. It was like from the moment it started, that very first episode, I was completely hooked. This season started off a little slow to me, okay? Then, so once we get past that, he enlists the help of his former loan shark to help him figure out who this guy is and where this guy is. And so he has this plan in place for them to him and his, all the people that they know, to just stalk out the subway system and try to find this guy who's playing that game again and follow him to figure out like the details of how to get to the island where they played and figure out how to stop the game. So that's the premise of season 2. He wants to stop the game. He's tired. He doesn't want this to continue past him. Okay. Now, on the other side of that coin, which is also something that I find very interesting for season 2, is that we're getting the behind the scenes perspective of the guards at the game, right? So last season, because he was the player, we only saw his perspective and we only saw what was going on with him, right? So we knew the emotion that he was experiencing, the emotion that the other players were experiencing, you know, the games that they were playing and all that. And so moving on to episode 2, I think it was episode 2. But, and you know what, in all honesty, the story has run together. I'm not even going to try to specify whether it's episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. I'm just going to talk about my thoughts so far because I only watched those 3. I had to make myself turn it off after episode 3. So they finally get to the compound or whatever. All of them, you know, all the players are there. And I liked how this time they have a different, the group has a different personality. So like the last time the group was just kind of like scared, very timid, just do what you're told and whatever. This group has more young people, I guess, more attitudes of, you know, you got to tell me, you know, you're not going to tell me what to do, or I get to ask questions, or you're not the boss of me attitude, or I want answers and whatever else. Like this was a much more upfront group, you know what I'm saying? And I found that very interesting. They were ready to ask questions. They wanted to know what was going on. They talked back. Like this is very different than the group in season 1. So I actually like the personality of the group this year or this season. And so when they played red light, green light, and he tries to warn them. He's like, this is what's gonna happen. This is how the game goes. When he says, if you lose the game, you're eliminated, he's going to kill you. So do what I say or else, right? And oddly enough, like the first few, like he's telling them how to, you know, run, freeze, like do not move at all because you will be killed. And he's trying to save everybody's life. As soon as they start, like something happens, a bee lands on one of the girls. And she freaks out because there's a bee on her when they're supposed to be frozen. She's the only one who moves. And then she doesn't immediately get shot, right? So a couple seconds go by and she's like, okay, well, I moved and nothing, and then she gets shot. Then she gets killed, which is, of course, what usually happens. The first person gets shot, everybody everybody freaks out, and folks start running in all directions when they're supposed to be frozen, and so all these people get shot, right? Well, he the whole time is trying to tell them, like he's screaming, he's, you know, covering his mouth so he's not moving and trying to let them know, you have to follow my instructions or else this is going to happen, right? And there are two schools of thought when it comes to something like this. And I ask myself, if I were in that position, what would I do, right? Because here's this person, he hasn't lied to you, right? He told you this is what's going to happen. You've now seen that this is what happened. I find it interesting that there was still a division between who chose to believe him and who didn't. Like, that made no sense to me. I felt like if he was trying to save his friend, as soon as this all happened, his friend is like, okay, I'll stick with you now. You know, because he had told his friend to stick with him. And so it's like, okay, I'll stick with you now. And it's like, why wouldn't you, you saw what he said was true. Why didn't everybody do that? You know what I'm saying? And then the other thing about that scene that was very interesting to me, last season, I thought that when there was movement, the gun was automated or set up or calibrated, or however you want to say it, to kill the person that moved or to attack the movement. So it was interesting to me to realize that there are people pulling those triggers. What kind of a personality do you have to have to be a sniper like this. You know, and I think that's the overarching theme too of the reason that the game is even being played. That's another thing that comes out in the first 3 episodes, the explanation as to why or where the game even, the idea for the game even originated. So there was a scene where they finally find the recruiter who recruited the guy in season 1. And I'm sorry, I do not know how to pronounce the names. I apologize. If you saw the show, then you know, if you know, you know. But I cannot remember how to pronounce these names, and I do not want to butcher them. So if you know I'm talking about the main character, you know who that is. The recruiter who was in the suit, you know who that is. Do not make me try to figure out how to say these names. And no disrespect, because I think the language is beautiful and I think the names are cool, but I don't remember them all, and I don't want to mess it up. So there's my disclaimer and my apology. So that being said, there's this overarching theme of greed or capitalism, kind of like being in control, but then it also being kind of like your fault that you're not in a better situation or what. Like, there was a scene where the recruiter guy buys 100 loaves of bread or 100 bread. It looked, I don't even know what to call it, but it kind of looked like a roll of some sort. So he buys 100 of these, bread rolls, and then he buys 100 lottery tickets. And he walks to a park that has a lot of homeless and, people that are down on their luck. And so he goes up to each one. He offers them either bread or a lottery ticket. And the vast majority of people take the lottery ticket, and all of them lose. Nobody wins playing the lottery. So after he's done this, he's out of lottery tickets, and everyone has chosen the lottery ticket and everyone has lost. Well, not everyone. Like I said, there are a couple of people that did take the bread. He dumps out the remaining bread onto the ground. Like, he had a couple of paper bags. He dumps the remaining little rolls of bread onto the ground. And one of the homeless people who had already taken the lottery ticket, reaches for the bread. He goes to pick it up off the ground, and dude stomps on the piece of bread. Okay. And so all these people, like the other homeless that are watching this, like, what's going on? And he gets to river dancing all over those rolls of bread. And then he announces, he's screaming to everyone, I did not throw this away. I am not the one that threw this bread away. I'm not the one that destroyed this. You are. You are the ones that made the choice that you didn't want it. And so now that's why this is garbage. And he commences stomping these rolls into oblivion. Okay. They are now crumbs on the street. They're not edible. They got, and it's like the idea of this want for money. And it's not. And so it made me think, because it creates this question of, we all, you need money to survive, right? You need to be able to pay for a roof over your head. You need to be able to pay for food, which, in all honesty, these are things that really, really, really irritate me if I sit and think about it. You know what I'm saying? If I sit and think about the fact that we as a society, that we as humans are charged to have a roof over our head. These are things that are necessities. We pay for water, whether it's tap water or bottled water or, fizzy water or whatever. We pay for water 9 times out of 10. You know what I'm saying? You pay to have a roof over your head. You pay for your clothes. These things that are necessities are not just openly provided. You know what I'm saying? And those of us, or those that have a challenge with being able to do that, are basically considered garbage. And that's what's talked about in the show. The idea that these people who, are displaced, or, who are hungry, who don't have the financial means to take care of these things, are basically just considered trash. The people that owe so much money, that are so deeply in debt that, whatever. It's on the one hand, yes, you need to eat, but that one, roll of bread feeds you for that moment. You're going to get hungry again. You're going to need money to eat later. he's not coming back with another roll of bread. So they go for the risk of trying to make enough money that you don't need just this one roll. You're going to get more options. You know what I'm saying? And so the whole reason, as we find out, that the game is even being played, it's almost as like they call the people playing trash. They're basically taking out the trash. And as all of these people play the game and are killed, the people that are pulling the triggers, the people that are, behind the scenes, the guards that are actually doing, have that mentality that they're just taking out the trash. These people don't matter. Can you, do you really think that people, those in our society that are in a better financial situation, do you really think they look at those that are less fortunate or that have not hit that same financial level as being garbage? I don't think that. When I see someone who's in a challenging situation, and perhaps, asking for help, I don't automatically look at them and think that they're trash. That's just a horrible way to think about another human being. You know what I'm saying? It disturbed me. That attitude, that verbiage, that really, really, really disturbed me. But anyway, I digress. What we find out as he finds a way to get put back in the game. And being put back in the game, he is now greeted at the end of it. So this is another rule that they bring up, that after each game, there are going to be 6 games, and after each game, the whole group will be polled. Everyone left will be polled to decide whether to continue playing or to split the prize money that's already there and leave. Now, fun fact, I have no idea what the conversion rate is for, Korean won to US dollars, but Google knows. So every time they mentioned an amount of money, I had to ask Google how much what the conversion rate was, how much it would be in US dollars. And so there was, when they were given the opportunity right after the first game to split the money and go, right? They did the math, and it came out to about $16,000 a person, right? Now, some people were in incredible debt, outrageous debt, that even those of us now, for me, I don't know about everybody watching the video, but I'm not going to talk about nobody else's pockets. I'm just saying incredible amounts of debt that it seems nearly impossible to be able to pay off. So when you think about having, let's say $1 million worth of debt, and your prize would be 16,000, it's like, I'm risking my life, yeah, but I already survived the first game. Is it worth it to take 16,000 that's not even gonna make a dent in what I need to pay back? Or should I keep going? And so that's the question that's posed, that you have to think about as to make that, whether you want to continue playing or not. And so at the end of the first poll, everyone goes up and they do and they're tied, right? They're tied. The last person to go goes up there, and we don't see his face. So we know that it's somebody, it's somebody that's going to be a surprise, right? And so when he votes no, right? He votes not to stop the games, to continue playing, right? And then we turn around and realize that player is actually the guy who's been running the games this whole time. He's the one in charge of running the games. So I do not know what that's going to look like going forward. Like I said, I only watched the first 3 episodes, like I told you. So I'm excited to see it. I'm going to watch the rest of it. I think it's only 7 episodes. So I'm going to watch the next 4 over the course of this week coming up. And we'll be able to talk about the end of it. But real quick, one of the players in the game, this goes back to my question about, or my statement about how it was really disturbing to hear these people referred to as trash, right? The one of the so okay, so like I said, we're watching the behind the scenes. One of the guards that was recruited, that took the job as a guard, and she, oddly enough, she was one of the snipers that was taking people out in the red light green light game. Before that, her job was working as like at an amusement park or something of the sort, like kind of at an amusement park. And she wore one of those costumes, like when you see, like when you go to an amusement park, whatever the theme of that park is, they always have characters that fit with, with that theme. And so she was one of those, kind of characters. And there was a little girl who she was kind of fond of because her dad worked as a caricature artist at that amusement park. And so the little girl, looked like she might have been about 6, like a little girl, maybe younger even, 4, somewhere between 4 and 6. But she was a little girl, had cancer, and her father didn't have the money to pay for her medical treatment. And we see him as a player in the game. And again, I ask you, just because he doesn't have the money to pay to take care of his child's medical bills, is he trash? Is she trash? Like, it's just, that theme just really, or that phrasing just really, really irks me, as you can tell. It just really irks me to, to think of the idea that these people, because they're not in, a better financial situation, are just unworthy or whatever. Like, or that they, I don't know. But he's in the game, and the sniper, the guard who used to be the character, notices that the father is in the game, and she has a relationship with him and his daughter. So it'll be interesting to see how, like, not a romantic relationship, just like I said, they worked at the same place and they just know each other. It'll be interesting to see how, or if those ties, or if that relationship comes into play or becomes a thing at all. So yeah, I'm really actually excited to finish the next 4 episodes. Like I said, it wasn't as fast paced or as gripping. Like, honestly, if this had been the first season, I probably wouldn't even made it past episode 2. But I'm liking getting the behind the scenes. I'm liking, learning more about the characters. The character development in this is really cool. We've got, in the group of players, we've got, folks that have lost money with crypto, folks that have stolen money during, for the crypto boom. We've got a mother-daughter, a mother-son relationship. She's there to try and pay his debt. He was there to try and pay his own debt. Like, there's just a lot. We've got one woman who's pregnant and alone, trying to figure out the world. Like, there are just so many pieces to this that are really interesting. And once you, like, that character development that gets you connected to these people, it's like, you don't want any of them to die, but you already know what's gonna happen, or what happened last season. So I'm gonna finish up this season. I know that there's so much that I missed. I know there is, right? Like, it was really impossible for me to write everything down and remember all of my bullet points and, talk to you about everything, because I want to hear what, I just want to make sure that I leave something for you guys, to tell me, because there are definitely things that I know I missed, definitely things that I see differently than how you see it. So, like, this is all opinion. This is not, set in stone. Don't listen. I'm just talking. In my onesie with my blankie and my tater chips. Okay. So you let me know what your thoughts are on those first 3 episodes. Please try not to spoil the next ones for me, because I'm going to watch them early next week. And I just kind of want to, not have it spoiled for me. I know most of y'all have already binged it completely. You know what I'm saying? So I want to see the other 4, the last few episodes, and not be looking specifically for things. So, but I do like the idea that they have a choice after each game to go ahead and stop it. So, and okay, so that's my commentary on Squid Game season 2 episodes 1 through 3. Please tell me what you thought about those first 3 episodes, what stood out to you, what your thoughts are, what themes you see coming up, what scenes made an impact on you, so on and so forth. I really want to hear about it. I want to discuss it. And I will respond to whatever comments you have. Now, moving on to something else. The next show that I want to talk to you guys about, and I'm not going to do it in this video, but the next one I want to talk to you about is Beast Games. Have you guys started watching Beast Games on Amazon Prime? So if you watch YouTube and you've ever heard of Mr. Beast, he has all of these, challenges that he pops up for regular people. For one person, it might be, can you live in this trailer, in this little field and not leave this area for 60 or 90 days or whatever. If you make it the whole 90 days, I'll give you $500,000 or whatever, right? And so there will be you'll be in this one little trailer. You got to ration out your food. You have your sewer system and all that, but I'm like, you have to ration out your food. You have to figure out ways to entertain yourself because you're alone. He might show up at some point with a marching band and they play for 8 hours straight, and you got to be able to maintain your sanity. What if you're a person that doesn't like bugs, like me, and you see a bunch, you see spiders and other stuff showing? At one point, I think with this particular challenge, he knocked down half of the house, so he was not exposed to the elements the last couple days of the experiment or whatever. But if you survive it, and he'll try to bribe you, hey, if you leave now, I'll give you $50,000 and whatever else. Or if you leave now, I'll give you, this plus these gifts and whatever else. But if you can make it the whole time, you get the full prize package and whatever else. So he does stuff like that. Well, they gave this man his own show, and it is wild. So if you have been watching Beast Games, I want to talk about that next week. The first 3 episodes are up, and I do like the fact that it's not all of the episodes at once for you to just sit there and binge it all. I do like the suspense of having to wait until the next week to get the answer to that cliffhanger. So, if you watch the first 3 episodes of that are up, then we'll be talking about that middle of next week, probably around Wednesday, Thursday of next week. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say about that. So otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with me. I am so excited to be building this community of couch potatoes. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.